Hey there, it's Julie Barrett with Conservative Ladies of Washington. I am coming to you on Sunday, April 16th. It is the day before the last week of the Washington legislative session for 2023. If you've been tracking along with us, you know that we have been fighting against a lot of really bad bills. And in this final week, there will be some of these key bills are up for action, final passage. Some of them will even be signed into law by Governor Jay Inslee this week. So we're tracking a lot of those, and I want to tell you about three of these bills, which I've already done videos, bill of the day videos on each of these bills, but want to give you a status update where they are now and what you can do. And I want to say we knew going into this session that it was going to be a big loss for us. But our prime goal in this session was to make a lot of noise and let the Democrats know that we weren't going to let them pass these bills, pass these very bad bills, without us putting up a fight and without them hearing from us. And so we have been really successful at that. We have made a lot of noise. We have really pushed back, thanks to the help from so many of you who have been so diligent about responding to the calls to action that we have put out over and over again. Some of these bills we have had calls to action go out, even a half a dozen different times as they have worked through the legislative process. So I appreciate you doing that. And I know it feels like a futile battle that we are in, but the first step towards creating change is to start fighting back and to start pushing back. And so that's really what we're doing. We're looking at a long-term strategy here, a long-term game plan where, as I always say, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and it's not going to be won back in one legislative session. The Democrats have been working strategically at this for decades, and we are just now starting to wake up and realize, oh crap, we're in a really bad place. And so thank you for getting in the game and fighting back. And I hope that you are inspired through this session to really start learning more about what's going on and really taking action, whether it's at a very local level for you, school board, city council, county council, or if it's something statewide. Maybe you consider running for office or just engaging more in depth in this fight to save Washington and to save our country. All right, without further ado, let's talk about these bills. First up, let's talk about House Bill 1240. This is the so-called assault weapons ban. And this is A.G. Ferguson and Jay Inslee's, one of their pet projects for this session. And the bill has a laundry list of firearms that would be defined as assault weapons. And it does have an emergency clause in this bill. So what that means is that as soon as it passes both chambers and it is signed by the governor, it becomes law immediately. Most bills usually have maybe like 90 days, or they'll start on the first of the next year. But this bill has an emergency clause, so it would take effect immediately. We have a couple bills like that this session. For House Bill 1469, making Washington a sanctuary state for minors to come and receive what they call protected healthcare services, which is abortion and gender changing services. That also has an emergency clause that has passed both chambers, and once it is signed by Jay Inslee, it will become law. So that is one of the more egregious bills of the session. So back to House Bill 1240. This bill passed through the House and it passed through the Senate. When it went through the Senate, it did get an amendment. This amendment is from Senator Wagoner, who is a Republican, and the amendment would basically it would exempt veterans or active duty military from this law, which makes a lot of sense, right? And so the Senate voted to approve this amendment and they passed the bill. And so because it was amended, it has to go back to its house of origin. So it goes back to the House, back to its chamber of origin, going back to the House. And the Speaker of the House on Friday afternoon, she brought up the bill and she said that they were going to send it back to the Senate to have them reseat that amendment. So basically they want, the Democrats in the House want the Senate to remove that amendment and pass the bill as it came out of the House. So that was an interesting turn of events. And I have spoken with one of the top ranking senators, and he says that he expects this bill to see floor action on Monday or Tuesday. And that what will happen is the Senate will vote to rescind the amendment, which he anticipates that the Democrats will do that, and then they will take a floor vote, and the House Bill 1240 will get passed out of the Senate, and then it would be going straight to Inslee. It would not need to go back to the House for passage. So that's the status of House Bill 1240. You can email your senator and every other senator in Washington and let them know that they have a second chance to vote no on this bill. So there's kind of an interesting dynamic going on here. So I'm going to have a link in the comments where you can send an email to your senators, and I will have the whole list there so you can send it to every single senator in Washington. Highly recommend that we fill up their inboxes with our opinions on this matter. All right, another really bad bill is Senate Bill 5599. This is the bill that expands on existing Washington law, which allows minor children to have, again, what they call protected healthcare services, which is abortion and gender transition services, puberty blocking hormones, medications, and even surgical procedures. What this bill does, because kids already don't need parental consent in Washington state, this bill takes away the parental notification. So your kid could run away, go off to a youth shelter, and the youth shelter, if your child says that they want to have an abortion or they want to transition, then that shelter is not obligated to notify you. They don't even have to notify law enforcement. So it's really dangerous because it's really easy for kids to be shuttled from a school, a mental hospital, to a youth shelter, and then get these services, and parents have no idea where their kid is. So it's really sad. I knew that this was going to pass. When it did the other day, I was just really heartbroken, and I don't think there was a way to anticipate how that would fall emotionally on us. I think it's hard to grasp the reality that we have people in power in our state who have zero regard for parental rights and who really want to target vulnerable children. This is just such an evil agenda. It's really hard to process that. So this bill, Senate Bill 5599, has now passed both chambers. However, it was amended in the House, which means it has to go back to the Senate for a floor vote in the Senate. I sent out a call to action after it was passed to email Jay Inslee asking him to veto this bill, but it does have to go back to the Senate. So we've updated that call to action so that you can email your senators. And, I'm just praying that one of these senators may have a moment of sanity and vote no on this as it goes through a second time. So please email your senator, email every senator in the state, and let them know that they need to not pass this bill. It is just an egregious bill. All right, last bill is Senate Bill 5768. This is a new bill that just came out, was dropped not even 2 weeks ago. I told you in a previous bill of the day about how Jay Inslee stockpiled 30,000 abortion pills in advance of the court decision coming out of Texas, which would rescind the FDA approval on the abortion pill. Now, you may recall these are being sold in some pharmacies around the country. They're very easy for people to get. You can get them through the mail, and they're very unsafe for women. 20% of women who take this pill need medical intervention afterwards because of the complications that they have from this abortion pill. It is very dangerous. So regardless of your view on abortion, you should want some guardrails around these kinds of medications that can have real medical implications for women. This is not compassionate care. I am 100% pro-life. I completely disagree with abortion. But for people who may not agree with me, may not be pro-life, they may be pro-choice, there's a big difference between being pro-choice and being pro-abortion. We have to at least agree that there should be some guardrails. This is such a dangerous thing. And so what this bill does, Jay Inslee bought all these pills in advance of this decision coming out so that he would have a way to still kill babies in Washington. And so he wants to authorize the Department of Corrections not to give these pills to inmates, but to be able to dispense these pills to providers around the state. So it kind of is a workaround from having to have a pharmaceutical license if the Department of Corrections is dispensing these pills. So it's a very sneaky bill. The state of Washington is very much a pro-death state. If you just look at how they're so pro-abortion, they passed the expansion on the assisted suicide bill, shortening the waiting period from 15 to 7 days, allowing social workers and a wide range of providers to prescribe these lethal drugs to end a person's life. And they can get the drugs by mail. So just not really compassionate. And so if you kind of watch the trend, and if you look at the transgender stuff that they want to do to kids, there's a lot of data that suggests that children who go through these services have a very high rate of suicidal ideation, suicide, depression, anxiety, and all of that. So they're really creating this just toxic, evil environment. There's no other way to say it. So Senate Bill 5768 has been passed through the Senate. It now goes to the House. It has to have a hearing in the Appropriations Committee. It is now scheduled for a hearing on Tuesday. It was previously scheduled for Monday, but they've pushed it out till Tuesday. I don't know why that is, but we are asking everyone to sign in con. Let the committee know that you are opposed to this bill. Will they pass it anyway? Probably so. I personally want to be on record as saying I oppose this and that I was not silent. So I hope that you want to do that as well. So I have a link for you to sign in con. It takes less than 30 seconds. It's very easy to do. I'm planning to testify. The Appropriations Committee will look at the fiscal impact of this bill. It's a very expensive bill. There's a lot of taxpayer dollars tied up in this agenda here to dispense these pills, because if you think of everything that's involved in making this happen, it's going to be very, very expensive, of course, at the expense of Washington taxpayers. So there's a lot going on this week. Those are just 3 of the bills. And this session, Washington state lawmakers dropped over 2,000 bills. So it's been a lot to keep track of, and we've just been tracking kind of the ones that we've targeted as the hot bills. So thank you for taking action. All the calls to action for these bills are in the description below. You can take action. It should take you less than 5 minutes to take action on all 3 of these bills. Please do it as soon as possible because these bills, especially Senate Bill 5599 and House Bill 1240, they are likely to see action early on in the week, so Monday or Tuesday. So please take action right away. Share this video, share this information with everyone that you can. You can also help support us. We can't do what we're doing without you. We need you to either become a member, join us in the fight. Our members meet every week. You don't have to, but if you want to get involved and be engaged in this fight, we will put you to work. We'll give you the tools. We'll teach you about what we're doing and what needs to be done and how you can get involved. We'll plug you in to your area of interest. Membership is open to men and women, or I should say women and men. We did open up to men this year, 2023, and we have had so many men join our movement, and it's been really fun to see these guys get involved. They're very passionate. They love to get involved and get things done. So it's been awesome to have them on the team. So consider joining us. Links are in the notes. If you don't want to join and become a member, you can make a donation. That is a huge help, and we are super grateful to everyone that helps to power our movement. We're going to keep fighting for you. Please get involved, support our movement, and stay engaged in this fight. We have a long journey. We have a long fight ahead. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to share.